Hello everyone, welcome to another class. I saw that a lot of people, lot of you, sorry, I just do this. A lot of you requested that we do a second part of Rebels and Raj. तो फर्स्ट पार्ट में आई थिंक हमने अवध तक कंप्लीट कर लिया था, सो वील बी कंटिन्यूइंग आफ्टर दैट. हम उसके बाद का आज कंटिन्यू करेंगे. सो वट एवर डाउट्स यू हैव यू कैन ऑलवेज पुट अप इन द कॉमेंट सेक्शन. There were certain doubts. Let me just check. मैं एक बारी पार्ट वन खोल के एक बारी चेक कर लेती हूँ कि कुछ डाउट्स थे या नहीं थे. आई थिंक मोस्ट ऑफ यू हैव रिक्वेस्टेड फॉर अ सेकेंड पार्ट, so that's what I'm continuing with. So अवध हो चुका था, अवध was done. Yes. So we had to start with what the rebels wanted. I think we had to start with the vision of unity. So there were certain comments. Let me just take a look at the comments here. ख्वाहिश has said, मैम अवध तो उनके कंट्रोल में था, फिर ब्रिटिशर्स ने वाजिद अली शाह को रिमूव क्यों किया? वाजिद अली शाह को बच्चे इसलिए रिमूव किया बिकॉज दे वांटेड utmost control over Awadh. And second of all, if you remember, Wajid Ali Shah was a popular ruler and people would have really aligned to him. अगर वाजिद अली शाह लोगों को कॉल आउट करते तो लोग जनरली उनके साथ होकर के ब्रिटिशर्स के अगेंस्ट हो जाते. सो बेसिकली द ब्रिटिशर्स वर ट्राइंग टू रिमूव एवरीथिंग और anything that could stand against them because they wanted absolute control over Awadh. We have a second part coming in. कैप्टन हेरेसी को प्रोटेक्ट क्यों किया था? कैप्टन हेरेसी को इसलिए प्रोटेक्ट किया बिकॉज ही वॉज द हेड ऑफ Awadh military police. He was the head of Awadh military police. We also have to remember, जैसे हमने अभी अवध के उसमें पढ़ा था कि कुछ जो ब्रिटिशर्स थे उनके साथ अच्छे रिलेशंस भी थे सिपॉइज के, एंड दे डिड नॉट वांट दोज ब्रिटिशर्स और दोज ऑफिशियल्स टू बी हार्म्ड. बट जब रिबेलियन शुरू हुआ, every white person, be it a good person or a bad person, was seen as an enemy. So maybe that is the reason they wanted to protect Captain Heresy. एक loyalty होती है, एक friendship होती है, that was definitely there. So but हाँ, जब rebellion शुरू हुआ उसके बाद ये सारी चीज़ें change होती गई. So now we're going to talk about what the rebels wanted, what was the vision of unity that they were looking for. Let's just start that. हम वो शुरू करेंगे. So these are the doubts. कुछ comment section में मेरे को मिले थे जो मैंने complete कर दिया है. अब हम इसके आगे पढ़ेंगे, which is part 2 of the chapter. Okay. So the rebels have been rebelling against the Britishers, but what is it that they actually wanted? उनको exactly चाहिए क्या था? ठीक है, rebellion हो गया, Britishers अगर चले भी गए तो हम क्या करेंगे? what will we be doing? where will be going back? हम वापस जाएंगे, हम नया सेशन क्रिएट करेंगे, हम क्या करेंगे? that is what we had to focus on now. Alright, so let us see what the rebels actually wanted. The rebel proclamations of 1857 repeatedly appealed to all sections of the population, irrespective of their caste and creed. So they appealed to all sections. मतलब एक vision of unity उनके लिए बहुत important थी. The Britishers have always been trying to divide us. Divide and rule was their policy. वो हमेशा हमें caste के basis पे, religion के basis पे, they've always tried to divide us. They've always tried to make us fight within ourselves, which we have done. So when the rebels started rebelling, they realized this. They realized that India could become free only when all sections of the population, irrespective of their caste, irrespective of their creed, irrespective of their religion, come together and fight against the common enemy, which is the Britishers. So most of the proclamations which were issued by the Muslim princesses or in their name also took care to address the sentiments of the Hindus. So for example, when Bahadur Shah Zafar would have made a proclamation, अगर उन्होंने कुछ proclamation किया होगा, he would have made sure that the sentiments of Hindus also are addressed. It was not just for one part of the population. एक part of the population के लिए ये नहीं था. उन्होंने पूरी कोशिश की कि Hindus के sentiments को भी address किया जाए, उनके ऊपर भी ध्यान दिया जाए. The rebellion was seen as a war in which both Hindus and Muslims had equally to lose and to gain. Now ये बहुत ज़रूरी था ये चीज़ लोगों के दिमाग में बिठाना कि if you're fighting in this war, you're not just fighting because you've been asked to. Because if you fight and you win, you will be gaining a lot, and if you lose, you will be losing a lot. The ishtihars और the proclamations जो छोटे छोटे pamphlets बनते थे उस टाइम पे, they harked back to the pre-British Hindu-Muslim unity, the coexistence, and the Mughal Empire was glorified because Mughal Empire के under all the communities, be it Zoroastrians, Christians, Hindus, Muslims, Buddhists, Jain, all were living together in peace and harmony. The proclamation also was issued under the name of Bahadur Shah, appealed to the people to join under the standards of both Muhammad and Mahavi. So in every manner, हर एक point में आप ये चीज़ देख रहे होगे कि every manner what they're trying to do is they're basically trying to understand, they're basically trying to कोशिश ये पूरी कर रहे हैं कि हर एक सेक्शन को, स्पेशली हिंदूज और मुस्लिम्स को एक छत्र छाया के नीचे, एक छत के नीचे लाया जा सके. So all the ishtihars, all the proclamations, all every proclamation that we see always harked back to the Hindu-Muslim unity, and the proclamation which was issued under Bahadur Shah Zafar's name, because we know he was the leader of the rebellion, he was made into the leader of the rebellion. जब उन्होंने फाइट करने के लिए लोगों को बुलाया तो उन्होंने सिर्फ मोहम्मद का नाम नहीं लिखा है, उन्होंने मोहम्मद और महावीर दोनों का नाम लिखा है कि उनके अंडर आए, उनके लिए फाइट करे, अपने लिए फाइट करे, अपने रिलीजन के लिए, अपने लोगों के लिए फाइट करे. So it was not just, when Bahadur Shah was making a proclamation that only Muslims would be represented, but Hindus were given equal representation. It was remarkable that during the religious divisions between the Hindus during uprising, the divisions between Hindus and Muslims were hardly noticeable despite British attempts to create such divisions. So Britishers actually made a whole lot of attempts to create divisions between Hindus and Muslims because they realized कि अगर हम अभी division create कर देंगे तो ये rebellion जो है ये die out हो जाएगा. It will not amount to anything worthwhile. This will just be a waste of money, waste of lives, and also जो ये एक चीज़ है इससे ब्रिटिशर्स बहुत ज़्यादा वापस से पार में आ जाएंगे because they will have complete control over these people now. So in Bareilly in Uttar Pradesh in December 1857, Britishers were spending almost 50,000 rupees to incite the Hindu population against the Muslims, but the attempt completely failed. It did not work. So imagine spending 50,000 rupees in 1857. It's a huge amount. अगर आज ये huge amount है तो सोचो उस टाइम पे ये लाखों करोड़ों के बराबर होगा. They had spent so much money. और ये पैसे हैं किसके? हमारे ही है ना, जो इन्होंने हमसे लूट के परमानेंट सेटलमेंट के थ्रू, रैयतवारी के थ्रू, जितनी भी सेटलमेंट्स हैं उनके थ्रू इन्होंने जो हमसे लूटा है उसी से तो ये चीज़ें इंसाइट कर रहे हैं. सो फ्रॉम आवर मनी दे ट्राइंग टू इंसाइट आवर पीपल अगेंस्ट ईच अदर, बट थैंक गॉड द अटेम्प्ट फेल. इट डिड नॉट वर्क. So let us see, and okay, so this was the first thing they wanted unity, all right. And apart from this, there was one more thing they wanted to end all symbols of oppression. तो जो भी इंसान उनको लगता था कि is a symbol of oppression, is someone who is oppressing us or someone who has been suppressing us, that person, उस इंसान के लिए बहुत ज़रूरी था उस चीज़ को हटाना. It was very important for the rebellions. So the proclamations completely rejected anything that was associated with the British rule, or Firangi Raj as they called it. So everything that was associated with the British Raj, dressing, clothing, anything that was coming from England, everything, the schools, the colleges, the law courts, every government building, every government institution, government jobs, everything that was associated with the Britishers, they completely rejected it. They completely rejected to accept it. उन्होंने कहा कि हम इन चीज़ों को नहीं मानेंगे. They condemned the annexations the Britishers have carried out and also the treaties that they had broken. The annexations of Satara, Jhansi, Awadh. They condemned all those annexations and they also condemned all the treaties which the Britishers had signed, but they had completely broken those treaties. The British rebel leaders said could not be trusted. The Britishers, according to rebel leaders, according to them, they could not be trusted. उनको trust नहीं किया जा सकता था. If I don't know if you've seen this, अगर आपने शशि थरूर की कुछ speeches सुने होंगे, you would have realized he also says the same thing, that it was said that the sun never sets in the British Empire. It is so huge कि अगर एक जगह रात होती है, दूसरी जगह सुबह हो जाती है, और वो दूसरी जगह भी ब्रिटिश एम्पायर के अंडर ही आती है. तो शशि थरूर ने इसका एक बहुत एप्ट जवाब दिया था, that even the gods could not trust the Britishers in darkness, and that is why the sun never set in the British Empire. Similarly, the rebel leaders said that the Britishers could not be trusted. What enraged the people was how British land revenue settlements had dispossessed landholders, big and small. Foreign commerce had driven artisans and weavers into ruins. So our GDP before the British had started taking up all of this was 23.3% of the world. Imagine 23.3% of the whole world. That was our contribution in the GDP of the entire economy. But because of the coming of the Britishers, because of their land revenue settlements, which we have already done, permanent settlement की वजह से कितनी प्रॉब्लम हुई थी, जो उन्होंने अवध में किया, तालुकदार्स के साथ, लैंड होल्डर्स के साथ, लैंड ओनर्स के साथ, all of this had destroyed foreign commerce, and because of this the artisans and weavers were in ruin. They had nothing, उनके पास कुछ नहीं था. They were in fact in debt from all sides. They would be taking money from the money lenders, they would be cultivating, सारे पैसे जो आते थे वो टैक्स में चले जाते थे, and अगर आगे उनको इन्वेस्ट करना है अपने लैंड में, they would again have to take money from the money lenders. The money lenders were again exploiting them. कुछ 100 रुपए के लिए उनसे 2000 रुपए का 100 रुपए का प्रिंसिपल अमाउंट था, और उनसे 2000 रुपए उन्होंने इंटरेस्ट लिया है. दिस इज जस्ट वन ऑफ द केसेस व्हिच आई एम रिपोर्टिंग. सो ऑल ऑफ दीज थिंग्स हैपेंड. तो ये सारी चीज़ें, ऑल ऑफ दिस वाज बेसिकली ड्राइविंग द आर्टिजन्स, द वीवर्स टू रूइन. कुछ नहीं बचता था हमारे पास, टैक्सेस सब कुछ पे करके. वी हैड नथिंग इवन टू पुट फूड ऑन द टेबल ऑफ आवर फैमिलीज. So every aspect of the British rule was attacked. Anything that was seen similar to the Firangi Raj was accused, was attacked, and anything that was seen familiar to our way of life was cherished, was something which was taken forward. The rebels wanted to restore that world. The rebels wanted to restore the court culture, the Mughal court culture, which was there, in which they were actually happy. Actually, हिंदुस्तान की जो GDP है वो सबसे highest अकबर के reign में थी, and it continued to be so during the Mughal rule. So that is what they wanted, where India was rich. If you read on one of the blue boxes from your chapter, बंगाल के एक प्रोविंस से जमा और हासिल में 28 लाख की जमा थी, which the estimated revenue was, and 14 लाख का actually revenue वो collect कर रहे थे. Can you imagine? That was the kind of revenue collection from a single province in Bengal. India was a rich nation which was deeply and deliberately and piece by piece destroyed by the Britishers. And this is what the rebellions did not want to continue. If you have any doubts, you can always let me know in the comment section. Just go through the chapters, just go through the pointers once again. Take a look at the pointers once again and let me know what part you have not understood. And if you do have any doubts in any of the points, do mention the topic name. और अगर आपको पूरे टॉपिक में डाउट है तो आप पूरा टॉपिक नाम लिख दीजिएगा. अगर आपको किसी पॉइंट में डाउट है तो मेंशन कर दीजिएगा कि मैम ये टॉपिक और ये पॉइंट मेरे समझ नहीं आया. आई वुड डेफिनेटली क्लियर ऑल योर डाउट्स. आई विल रिप्लाई ऑन टू द कॉमेंट्स इटसेल्फ. इफ पॉसिबल आई विल बी टेकिंग अ डाउट क्लियरिंग सेशन ऑल्सो, सो दैट कैन बी डन. Moving on. Now, the proclamations which the Britishers the proclamations of the rebellion expressed the fear that the Britishers were bent on destroying the caste and religion of the people. This fear was very much evident in the rumors which the Indians believed to be true. All that rumors actually was impinging on the fact that uh, Britishers were hell bent on destroying the caste and religion and was hell bent on converting them into Christianity. That rumors we've already dealt with. I hope you all remember them. So the rumor about Enfield rifle, the rumor about mixing cow dust, bone dust of cows in the flour, in the आटा जो उन्होंने मिक्स कर दिया था, that was something. नमक में बहुत सारी चीज़ें मिक्स हुई थी. So all that rumors were actually all about how the Britishers were trying to destroy the caste and religion of the people. Now, as noted earlier, in many places, the rebellion against the British widened into an attack to all those who were seen as the allies of the British or local oppressors. Now, the rebellion was not just meant to attack the Britishers, but it was also meant to attack all those people who were seen as allies or the friends of the British and all those who were seen as local oppressors. तो इसमें सबसे पहले I think money lenders ज़रूर आएंगे because they were the ones who were the local oppressors. Britishers तो हमें exploit कर ही रहे थे. They being Indians, they were exploiting their fellow Indians, fellow peasants जिनके पास कुछ नहीं था, उनको भी exploit कर रहे थे. So often the rebels deliberately sought to humiliate the elites of a city. So in a village, they started burning the account book, ransacked moneylenders' houses. तो major issue moneylenders के साथ ये था कि वो पैसे देते थे. On the principal amount, they would add as much interest as possible. So as a result of this, as a reaction to this, in a village, people started burning the account books, ताकि अगर अकाउंट ही नहीं रहेगा, रिकॉर्ड नहीं रहेगा, तो वो कैसे पैसे कलेक्ट करेंगे वापस, है ना. फिर वो मनी लेंडर्स के हाउसेस को रैंसैक कर देते so that all the records would be lost. This reflected an attempt to overturn traditional hierarchies, rebel against all oppressors. So, जो traditional hierarchies थी, which meant that the landlord, the money lenders, all were to be respected. The rebel wanted to turn against all oppressors. Hierarchies में वो believe नहीं करते थे. They did not believe in hierarchies. If someone is said to be on top, the person has to act like that. If the person was not acting like that, was not acting like a benign father figure, they would be rebelling against that oppressor for sure. It presents a glimpse of an alternative vision, perhaps of a more egalitarian society. So they actually really wanted an egalitarian society where everyone has opportunities and no one could have taken advantage of the other person. Now, such visions were not articulated in the proclamations, which sought to unify all social groups in the fight against Firangi Raj. But they also realized कि अगर हम इन चीज़ों को प्रोक्लेमेशंस में डाल देंगे तो हर कोई यूनाइट नहीं होगा. एवरी वन विल नॉट वर्क इन फेवर ऑफ अस एंड दिस इज़ द रीज़न उन्होंने इन चीज़ों को कभी प्रोक्लेमेशंस में मेंशन नहीं किया बिकॉज दे नीडेड दैट काइंड ऑफ यूनिटी. उनको उस तरह की यूनिटी की ज़रूरत थी उस टाइम पे एंड दैट इज़ वाई दे वर फाइटिंग. दे वांटेड यूनिटी ऑफ ऑल द पीपल इवन दोज हु वर सीन एज ऑप्रेसर्स ऑन द इंडियन साइड एज वेल. I hope यहाँ तक सबको clear है. Again guys, if you have any doubts, you can always put them in the comment section. आप comment section में डाल सकते हो. अगर आपको कुछ भी नहीं समझ में आ रहा, please वहाँ पे ज़रूर डाल दीजिएगा. Just a minute. Okay. Next is the search for alternative power. So this was another vision, this was another something which the rebels wanted. So according to them, once the British rule would have collapsed, एक बार Britishers यहाँ से चले जाएंगे, तो उसके बाद क्या होगा? What is actually going to happen? Okay. So the rebels in places like Delhi and Lucknow and Kanpur, they tried to establish some kind of authority in administration. तो जो rebels थे, especially from Delhi, Lucknow and Kanpur, they tried to establish some kind of administration and some kind of authority which could immediately take up which could immediately take up the responsibility after the Britishers left, unless and until we had a more permanent solution. This was, of course, short lived, but the attempts show that the rebels' leadership wanted to restore the pre British world of the 18th century. It was short lived because obviously they did not win the rebellion. The Britishers did not leave India. It took them another 100 years, another 90 years actually, to leave the country. So, but it does show us an attempt. ये क्या दिखाता है हमें? ये हमें ये दिखाता है that the Indians, the rebels really wanted to go back to the pre-British period. They wanted to go back to the culture of the court. They wanted to go back to the period of the Mughal Empire, where there was a king, where there was a court, where there were administrators, all sorts of people who basically वो monarchy में वापस जाना चाहते थे. So appointments were made to various posts, arrangements were made for the collection of land revenue, payment of troops, orders were issued to stop loot and plunder. तो अपने जानते अपने तरीके से उन्होंने बहुत कोशिश की कि चीज़ें थोड़ी सी अच्छी हो सके. So appointments were made for various posts, ministers, finance ministers, all sorts of ministers were appointed. Arrangements were made ताकि जो land revenue collection है जो Britishers ने बिल्कुल spoil कर दी थी, which was utterly destroyed by them, could be made up again, could come to a regular fare again. And a payment of troops were made ताकि troops को payment किया गया ताकि they could provide protection, and orders were issued so that loot and plunder could be stopped, which has now become very prevalent during the British rule. All right, moving on. Where were we? कहाँ थे हम? Yes, so orders were issued. Now, side by side, plans were made to fight the battles against the British. मतलब पूरी कोशिश की गई, अच्छे खासे प्लान बनाए गए ताकि ब्रिटिशर्स के अगेंस्ट लोग लड़ सके, ब्रिटिशर्स के अगेंस्ट लोग फाइट कर सके. Alright, all the plans were made accordingly. Now chains of command was laid down in the army. मतलब chain of command की सबसे ऊपर कौन है, who's the commanding officer, who are the people who is working under them, sepoys किसके अंडर काम करेंगे, कौन किसकी order को सुनेगा, all that was taken care of. Okay, now in all of this, rebels always harked back to the 18th century Mughal world. उनको हमेशा वो एक symbol लगता था उनकी lost जिंदगी का, which is no longer a part of their life. They really just wanted to go back to that part. Really just wanted to go back to that part. The administrative structures established by the rebel was aimed at meeting the demands of the war. तो जो भी administrative structure उन्होंने establish किया था उसका एक ही aim था that it would be meeting the demand of the rebellion, the war in which they're going to participate. Now in most of these cases could not survive the British onslaught. British onslaught से वो नहीं बच पाए. Britishers नहीं गए थे 1857 के revolt के बाद, बट फिर भी लोगों ने अपने जानते अपने तरीके से पूरी कोशिश की. They tried their best. So in Awadh, where resistance to the British lasted longest, the plans of counter-attack were being drawn up by the Lucknow court. Hierarchies of command were in place as late as the months of 1857 and early part of 1858. मतलब अवध में लोगों ने सबसे ज़्यादा लंबे समय तक जो कमांड है, जो लड़ाई है, उसको जारी रखा. 1857 में शुरू किया और 1858 तक इसको कंटिन्यू रखा, स्पेशली इन अवध. बाकी जगहों ने फिर भी बहुत जल्दी गिव अप कर दिया था, बट अवध कंटिन्यूड टू फाइट. So they did not survive, they could not survive the British onslaught, but at least they tried. That is, I think, the most important thing we have to keep in mind here. Okay. I hope it is clear, guys. I hope आपको कोई भी doubt नहीं हो रहा हो. I hope I'm sure you guys are okay with this. मैं एक बार और comment section में देख लेती हूँ, अगर और कोई doubt है तो मैं आपके वो doubts clear कर देती हूँ. Let me just take a look at the comment section. I don't think there's any और कुछ है यहाँ पे comment section में नहीं. देयर इज नो मोर हियर, और कोई डाउट्स नहीं है यहाँ कमेंट सेक्शन में किसी को. सो वी विल बिगिन विथ आवर लेसन फर्दर. तो अब हम बात कर रहे हैं रिप्रेशन की. ओके अब हम बात कर रहे हैं किसकी, अब हम बात कर रहे हैं रिप्रेशन की. रिप्रेशन से हम ये समझना चाह रहे हैं कि अभी तक हमने बात की हाउ द रिबेल्स वर एक्टिंग, रिबेल्स कैसे कोशिश कर रहे थे, हाउ द रिबेल्स वर एक्टिंग, एंड नाउ वी विल सी हाउ द ब्रिटिशर्स ट्राई टू रिप्रेस देम. ब्रिटिशर्स ने कैसे कोशिश करके उनको पूरी तरीके से रिबेल को ख़त्म किया. एंड एक्चुअली द ब्रिटिशर्स इमर्ज्ड मच मोर पावरफुल आफ्टर दिस, एंड दैट इज द रीजन दे कुड कंटिन्यू फॉर अनदर 90 years in India. So let us take a look at that. It is clear from all the accounts that we have of 1857 that the British did not have an easy time in putting down the rebellion. So it was actually not easy for the Britishers to put down the rebellion. इतना भी आसान नहीं था उनके लिए, जितना आसान उन्होंने दिखाया है इस चीज़ को. It was not that easy. Before sending out troops to reconquer North India, British passed a series of law to help them quell the insurgency. तो उन्होंने ना सिर्फ troops भेजे, not only did they send the troops, but they also made sure that they pass a series of law which will help them in quelling this insurgency, which will help them in oppressing, which will help them in basically putting out the rebellion. So they passed a series of acts in May and June 1857. The whole of India was put under martial law. Martial law is basically that you cannot have more than 4 people assembling together. तो ये जो लॉ आपने लॉकडाउन के टाइम में देखा होगा कि 4 से ज़्यादा लोग असेंबल नहीं कर सकते हैं, सोशल डिस्टेंसिंग होगी, ये बेसिकली दिस इज व्हाट इज नोन एज योर मार्शल लॉ. और मिलिट्री ऑफिसर्स को, इवन ऑर्डनरी, मतलब सिर्फ मिलिट्री ऑफिसर्स नहीं, ऑर्डनरी ब्राइटन्स जो कि बहुत लो होते हैं पोजीशन में, उनको भी पावर दी गई थी कि वो ब्रिटिशर्स, वो इंडियंस को बिना ट्रायल के पनिश कर सकते हैं. अगर उनको शक है तो उनको अरेस्ट किया जा सकता है और उनको पनिश किया जा सकता है, एंड देयर वुड बी नो ट्रायल हेल्ड. In other words, the ordinary processes of law and trial were suspended, and it was put out that rebellion would have only one punishment, that was death. So जो ordinary process है, which is of law, where you suspect a person, then you arrest a person, you try that person. If the person is proven guilty, then only the person is given some kind of punishment. But here, they had already decided that if you are suspected of rebellion, even if you're just suspected for rebellion, the only thing that you're going to suffer is death, nothing less. Armed with these new special laws and reinforcement that they have brought in from Britain, the British began the work of suppressing the revolt. तो उनको कहाँ से मदद मिली थी? From the laws which they had just passed, and also from all the reinforcement which they had brought from Britain. They started suppressing the revolt. So they liked the rebellion. They recognized that Delhi was of symbolic value, और इसीलिए उन्होंने 2 तरफा अटैक किया था दिल्ली पे. It was a two-way attack, two-pronged attack. So one force moved from Calcutta, the other one from Punjab. तो एक तरफ से पंजाब से आ रहे थे और एक तरफ कैलकटा से आ रहे थे. ठीक है, It was a 90-degree attack actually. और उन्होंने शुरुआत की थी दिल्ली को रिकॉन्कर करने की 1857 में, जून 1857. बट द रिबेलियंस पुट अप क्वाइट अ फाइट, और वो दिल्ली को एक्चुअली लेट सितंबर में फाइनली कैप्चर कर पाए थे. कैन यू इमेजिन? जून, जुलाई, अगस्त, सितंबर. इट टुक देम 4 months just to reconquer Delhi. One of the reasons of this was the fact that rebels from all over North India had come to Delhi to defend the capital. Delhi was of symbolic importance. Delhi was seen as a symbol of Mughal Empire. इसीलिए जितने भी rebels थे नॉर्थ इंडिया के, वो सब आ गए थे ताकि वो दिल्ली को डिफेंड कर सके. Delhi was that important for them. I don't know, this is very emotional also. In the Gangetic Plain, in the northern plain, the progress of reconquest was really slow. The forces had to conquer village by village. एक साथ वो एरिया कॉन्कर नहीं कर पा रहे थे. कंट्री साइड एक्चुअली वॉज रियली वेरी हॉस्टाइल. वो बिल्कुल नहीं चाहते थे ब्रिटिशर्स आए. तो जब भी ऐसा कुछ होता था, they would rebel, they would counter attack in the most heinous, in the most aggressive manners possible. And by they I mean here the villagers, especially the peasants and the farmers. So as soon as they began their counter-insurgency operations, the British realized that they were not dealing with a mere mutiny but an uprising which had a huge popular support. तो जब उन्होंने अपनी काउंटर इंसर्जेंसी शुरू की, उनको तब जाके रियलाइज़ हुआ कि ये सिर्फ सीपॉय म्यूटिनी नहीं है जो नाम उन्होंने हमें दिया है इस चीज़ को. It is actually a mutiny which had a popular support, जहाँ पे actually लोग इस चीज़ को सपोर्ट कर रहे हैं, जहाँ पे हिंदुस्तान के लोग इस चीज़ को सपोर्ट कर रहे हैं. So that I think is very important here. So yes, this is what it is talking about. All right, now so the area was brought under control. So जिस area की हम बात कर रहे हैं, especially Awadh. Okay, Awadh, for example, a British official called Forsyth estimated that 3/4 of the adult male population was in rebellion. मतलब 3/4 of the adult male population जो है वो rebellion में है, and it was only brought in control in March 1858. मतलब पूरा साल जब चला गया उसके बाद ही ये कंट्रोल में आ सका. Can you imagine that? पूरा साल चला गया, एक छोटे से प्रोविंस को कंट्रोल में लाने के लिए पूरा साल चला गया, उसके बाद ही ये कंट्रोल में आ सका. दैट मीन्स दैट द इंडियंस हैड पुट अप क्वाइट अ फाइट. इट वाज नॉट समथिंग ईजी. इंडियंस ने काफ़ी जम करके इनको धूल चढ़ाने की कोशिश की. बट येस, वी लॉस्ट, दैट डिफरेंट थिंग, बट एटलीस्ट वी ट्राइड. आई थिंक दैट इज द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग वी कैन से हियर. और आई थिंक इसके बाद ही एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट चीज़ हुई कि उन्होंने अपने एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन में काफ़ी बदलाव लाए. इट वॉज नॉट, मैं ये नहीं कहूँगी कि बहुत अच्छे बदलाव थे, बट हाँ, एटलीस्ट समथिंग वाज बेटर देन नथिंग. So I hope this is clear. You can just take a look at all the pointers once again, and if you have any doubts, you can put it up in the comment section, and I will definitely take up a doubt clearing session for this. All right, moving on. In large parts of present-day Uttar Pradesh, where big landholders and peasants had offered a united resistance, the British tried to break up the unity by promise to give back the big landholders their estates, और जो भी rebel landholders हैं, they were dispossessed and the loyals were rewarded. So this is a political method through which they tried to win over the landlords. The Uttar Pradesh में actually landlords and the peasants had fought together. They had provided a united resistance. So Britishers tried to break the unity by offering the big landholders कि वो आपको आपके estates जो हैं वो वापस मिल जाएंगे. So all those people who agreed, जो loyal हो गए Britishers के, उनको reward किया गया, and जो rebel landholders थे उनको dispossess कर दिया गया, in the sense all of their land, all of their estate, all of their property was taken away. And many of the landholders actually died fighting the Britishers, और जो बच गए थे they escaped to Nepal, where they died of illness or starvation. So it was not a very happy ending for them. Not very, क्या बिल्कुल ही happy ending नहीं था उनके लिए. They died of illness and starvation. जो बच गए थे वो नेपाल चले गए. So this is what happened with the rebellions. Okay, now ये एक बहुत important topic है जो हम discuss करेंगे, which is images of the revolt. तो ये images जो है ये ब्रिटिशर्स ने बनवाए, ब्रिटिशर्स ने पेंट करवाए, आप कह सकते हो प्रोक्लेम करवाए, टू बेसिकली शो दैट हाउ द रिबेल एक्चुअली हैपेंड, और कैसे उन्होंने अपने आप को इतना बेचारा और अच्छा दिखाया है. सो लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स विल हैपन जो मैं अभी डिस्कस करूंगी आपके साथ. एंड दिस इज द लास्ट टॉपिक. सो विद दिस विल बी एबल टू फिनिश आवर चैप्टर. ओके, तो कुछ इमेजेस हैं. सो देयर सम इमेजेस वेयर दे सेलिब्रेटिंग द सेवियर्स, सम इमेजेस वेयर दे सेलिब्रेटिंग द ऑनर ऑफ इंग्लिश वुमन. कुछ ऐसे पेंटिंग्स हैं जहाँ पे वेंजेंस और एट्रीब्यूशन है. सो दीज आर द पेंटिंग्स विच वी विल बी डिस्कसिंग. सो लेट्स स्टार्ट विद दिस. Now these images are actually very important. Why? Because these images will be looked up by the Britishers in Britain, and this is the kind of image they will have about the Indians. मतलब वो Indians पे क्या हो रहा है, उनके साथ क्या यातनाएं की जा रही हैं, जो भी उनके साथ ज्यादती हो रही है, वो नहीं समझेंगे, वो ब्रिटिशर्स बिल्कुल नहीं समझेंगे. बट ऑब्वियसली दे आर गोइंग टू अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट दे हैव गॉन थ्रू, स्पेशली women and women and children are concerned. So this image was basically to tarnish our image. जो रिबेलियंस की इमेज है उसको टार्निश करने के लिए और अपने आप को अच्छा दिखाने के लिए ये इमेजेस क्रिएट किए गए थे, स्पेशली फॉर ब्रिटेन. ओके, all right. So कहाँ थे हम? So British pictures offer a variety of images which are meant to provoke a range of different emotions and reactions. So in some way it will make you feel proud, in some way it will make you feel angry, in some way it will make you feel sad also. So these are the images. So this was the emotion that it was meant to portray. So some was actually meant to commemorate the heroes who saved the English and during the rebellion and repressed them. So we have one picture, one painting which is relief of Lucknow. Now this was painted by Thomas Jones Baker in 1859, is an example of this type जहाँ पे हम English heroes को celebrate कर रहे हैं और rebellions के repression को देख रहे हैं. Okay, so you can just take a look at the painting here. It's not very clear, but I'm sure आपको दिख रहा होगा. You can also check it in your book. Let me explain this. So जब rebel forces लखनऊ आए थे, Henry Lawrence, he was the commissioner of Lucknow. Fine. So what he did, he collected all the Christian population and took refuge in a very fortified residency. तो ये residency आप पीछे देख सकते हो. This is the residency I'm talking about. एक second, let me use a pointer here. This is the residency I'm talking about. ये पूरा residency है यहाँ पे. ये पूरा residency है यहाँ पे. इस residency में उन्होंने refuge लिया था. Okay? All right. कहाँ थे हम? Lawrence was killed while he was trying to defend the residency. So Lawrence was killed, but the residency was continued to be defended by Colonel Inglis. Okay, तो Lawrence जो है वो मारे गए, but then the defense of the residency was taken over by Colonel Inglis. So on September 25, James Outram and Henry Havelock arrived, cut through the rebel forces and reinforced the British garrison. So Inglis जो है, Inglis was defending the British garrison, but he needed reinforcement. He needed more and more people. He needed more and more army to defend all the English population which had gathered in that fortified residency. So on September 25th, James Outram and Henry Havelock, they arrived with lots of reinforcement and they were cutting through the rebel forces and they reinforced the British garrison. मतलब जो British forces हैं उनको reinforce कर दिया उन्होंने. 20 days later, Colin Campbell, who was appointed as the commander of the British forces in India, वो अपने forces के साथ आए और British forces को, जो भी वहाँ पे लोग मौजूद थे उस garrison में, उनको rescue किया गया. In British accounts, the siege of Lucknow became a story of survival, heroic resistance and ultimate triumph of the British power. मतलब ये relief of Lucknow or the besiege or the siege of Lucknow actually became not just a story of survival, heroic resistance because they resisted the rebel forces, और ultimately how the British triumphed. तो बेकर की जो painting है, it celebrates the moment Campbell enters into the picture. ओके, सेंटर में आपको कैम्बल, आउट्रम और हीवलॉक दिखेंगे. यू कैन सी हियर, these are the three pictures, the three people I'm talking about: Campbell, Havelock and Outram. हाँ, ये तीनों आपको दिखेंगे। द जेस्चर्स ऑफ द हैंड ऑफ दोज अराउंड द लीड, स्पेक्टेटर्स आइज टू द सेंटर। तो आप ये देखोगे कि ये आप यहाँ पे नोटिस करो, ये बहुत कलर्ड है, दिस इज वेरी लाइटेड। सो व्हेन यू लुक एट द पिक्चर यू विल फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल लुक हियर। तो आप सबसे पहले क्या देखोगे, ब्रिटिश फोर्सेस को देखोगे, दैट हाउ दे हैव उन्होंने कैसे बचा लिया है सबको। फाइन, तो सबसे पहले आपका ध्यान किस पे जाएगा, लीडर्स पे जाएगा। The heroes stand on the ground and it is well lit. हाँ, shadows in the foreground and the damaged residency in the background. तो heroes जो हैं वो उस ground पे खड़े हैं which is well lit. Okay, so if you just look at the picture, आप ध्यान दोगे सबसे पहले तो आपका यहीं पे ध्यान जाएगा because it is well lit. Okay, एंड इफ़ यू लुक इट, आप अगर यहाँ पे लेफ्ट साइड में देखोगे यू कैन सी द रिबेलियंस हियर, यहाँ पे देखोगे यू कैन सी द रिबेलियंस हियर हु हैव बीन कट्स लाइक वेजिटेबल्स, जिनको कि गाजर मूली की तरह काटते वो आगे बढ़े हैं। दिस इज व्हाट दे वांटेड टू शो। सो दे हैव बीन, उनको हमेशा डार्क में दिखाया गया है ताकि आपका ध्यान उन पर पहले ना जाए। पहले यू विल लुक एट द हीरोज एंड देन ओनली विल यू लुक एट दीज पीपल। सो आप यहाँ पे 3 लोग को देख रहे हैं, दे ऑल स्टैंडिंग टुगेदर। The heroes stand on the ground. The dead and the injured in the foreground are testimony to the suffering during the siege, while the triumphant figures on horses in the middle ground emphasize the fact that British control has been re-established. So dead and injured जो हैं, especially the rebellions, they ये देखो यहाँ पे side पे खड़े हैं सारे, they're standing on the side, and यहाँ पे जो है हमारे heroes खड़े, supposedly the British heroes, because now British power has been reinforced. This is what they want to portray. ओके, नाउ इंग्लिश वुमेन एंड द ऑनर ऑफ ब्रिटेन, एक और पेंटिंग है यहाँ पे विच इज इन मेमोरियम। दिस वॉज पेंटेड बाय जोसेफ नियोल पेटन जस्ट 2 years आफ्टर द म्यूटिनी। यहाँ पे आप देख सकते हैं दैट इंग्लिश वुमेन एंड चिल्ड्रन आर huddled in a circle, they're looking helpless, innocent, and they're waiting inevitable for their dishonor and violence and death. You can see here that they have all huddled up together. ये देखो कितनी डरी हुई लग रही है, बच्चे हैं यहाँ पे। You can see this woman looking up to the sky कि बस भगवान हमें बचा ले। And you can see बहुत डरे हुए हैं, they are very scared that they are going to be dead, they are going to die at the hands of the rebel forces. Now, in memoriam does not show gory violence, it only suggests it. मतलब यहाँ पे exactly violence दिखाया नहीं गया है, but through the painting it can suggest that how the Britishers, how the women is actually portrayed, and how they're scared that the rebels will come and they will definitely harm them. It stirs up the spectator's imagination and seeks to provoke anger and fury. So if I am looking at this picture, I will definitely, and if I do not know anything about the rebellions, I will definitely be very angry कि औरतें और बच्चों के साथ इस तरह की हरकतें कौन करता है, who behaves like this with innocent women and children, isn't it? I will definitely become very angry, and that is what this was meant to portray, that is what this was meant to, this emotion was meant to come out. And in the background you can see the British rescue forces arriving as saviors. यहाँ पे British rescue forces को देख सकते हो, they are coming as saviors and they're going to save the honor of the women. Okay, we have some another set of sketches and some paintings where women are shown a different light. So there's this painting of Miss Wheeler. She is standing very firmly in the center. She's defending her honor single-handedly. She's killing all the rebels. And you can see how the rebels have been demonetized, मतलब demonized किया हुआ, sorry, डिमोनाइज किया हुआ है उनको। एंड वी कैन सी यहाँ पे आपको दिखेगा कि 4 हट्टे कट्टे लोग हैं जो स्वॉर्ड्स के साथ आए हैं, गन्स के साथ आए हैं और एक बेचारी सी औरत पे अटैक कर रहे हैं। एंड शी इज स्ट्रगलिंग टू सेव हर ऑनर एंड हर लाइफ। और वहाँ पे बगल में आप देखोगे कि बाइबल रखा हुआ है। दिस हैज़ अ मोर रिलीजियस कॉनोटेशन इन द सेंस शी इज नॉट ओनली ट्राइंग टू प्रोटेक्ट herself, but she is also trying to protect the honor of Christianity. एक और चीज़ थी एक और इमोशन था which was meant to be portrayed, that was vengeance and retribution. So we have some images for that also. So as waves of anger and shock spread in Britain, demands for retribution grew louder. Retribution in the sense revenge. ऐसे पिक्चर्स प्रमोट करने का, ऐसी पेंटिंग्स प्रमोट करने का जहाँ पे दिखे कि हाँ हमने इनसे बदला ले लिया है, we have done our deed, we have taken whatever we wanted from them. So, visual representations and news about the revolt created a milieu in which violent repression and vengeance were seen as both necessary and just. तो ये जो विजुअल रिप्रेजेंटेशन है, जो पेंटिंग्स हैं, जब ये लोगों के बीच में फैली, तो एक ओपिनियन था लोगों का जहाँ पे वायलेंट रिप्रेशन किसका, रिबेल्स का, और बदला लेना उनसे ना सिर्फ नेसेसरी था बट ऑल्सो इट वॉज जस्टिफाइड. ठीक है. तो threatened by the rebellion, British felt that they had to demonstrate some kind of invincibility, कि वो लोग जीते हैं, वो लोग invincible हैं, उनसे कोई हार नहीं सकता है. So in one such figure, we see a female figure of justice. Now she has sword in one hand, she has a shield in one hand, and she's cutting through the rebel forces. She has this expressive rage on her face, and she desires revenge. And she's trampling the sepoys under her feet. और Indian women and children जो है, they're very scared, और उसके शील्ड के अंदर अपने आप को प्रोटेक्ट करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं. So this was the figure that was very much portrayed, very much prevalent, बहुत famous था. एक और फिगर थी, एक और बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट पिक्चर है जहाँ पे दिखाया गया है कि ऐसे रिबेल्स इस लाइन में खड़े हैं एंड दे बीइंग ब्लोन फ्रॉम द गन्स, और दे बीइंग हैंग फ्रॉम द गैलोज. और ये इमेजेस ऑफ एग्जीक्यूशन वाज वाइडली सर्कुलेटेड इन द पेपर एंड जर्नल्स, ताकि लोग जो हैं वो ब्रिटेन के जो लोग हैं वो एक्चुअली शांत हो जाए कि हाँ भाई ठीक है, हमने बदला ले लिया है उनसे. दिस एक्चुअली हैपेंड. नाउ देयर इज वन मोर इमेज ऑफ क्लेमेंसी. So when Governor General Canning declared that a gesture of leniency, and we would show them mercy, mercy to whom? The rebellions, and this would actually help us in winning back the loyalty of the sepoys, he was widely mocked. मतलब उनका बहुत मजाक उड़ा ब्रिटिश प्रेस में. किस तरह का मजाक? तो एक कार्टून पब्लिश किया गया and in a paper named Punch. So it is like a comic satire. Okay, so Canning जो है वो बैठे हुए हैं, he's like a very father figure, और एक सिपाही आता है उनके पास और वो उसके सर पे से हाथ फेर रहे हैं, और एक हाथ में जो है उसके डैगर है विच इज ड्रिपिंग इन ब्लड. तो ये दिखाने की कोशिश की गई है कि आप तो बहुत अच्छे हो सकते हो बट सिपाहीज जो हैं वो डेफिनेटली इतने अच्छे नहीं होंगे. दे विल नॉट बी लाइक दैट. सो दे आर हियर टू किल यू. सो आप उनको कितना ही अच्छा कर लो, कितना ही ऐसे पैट कर लो, कितना ही पुचकार लो, नथिंग इज गोइंग टू हैपन हियर. ओके. Now, Indians were also not going to stay far behind in this. We also have some nationalist imageries. So, art and literature and writing have developed in keeping alive the memory of 1857. We have some heroic poems written, जैसे कि झांसी की रानी का जो पोएम है, सुभद्रा कुमारी चौहान ने जो लिखा है, खूब लड़ी मर्दानी वो तो झांसी वाली रानी थी. That actually instills us with a lot of pride, isn't it? It is something that we have all enjoyed as children. हम सब ने उस पोएम को पढ़ा है, हम सब ने उस पोएम को देखा है, and I'm pretty sure हर कोई कभी ना कभी अपनी फैंसी ड्रेस कॉम्पिटिशन में रानी लक्ष्मीबाई बना ही बना है. So in popular prints, when some movies were released, she's shown as wearing an armor. She has a sword in her hand. She's riding a horse. She's a symbol of determination and something which is going to resist injustice and alien rule. She was something which is shown as a figure that is going to fight the British rule. So this is it. This ends your chapter, guys. And hopefully you have understood. Hopefully आपको कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं हुई होगी इस चैप्टर में. अगर कहीं डिफिकल्टी है तो प्लीज़ आप कमेंट सेक्शन में ज़रूर बताइएगा कि आपको क्या समझ नहीं आया. वट एवर यू हैव नॉट अंडरस्टूड, आई विल डेफिनेटली बी टेकिंग अप अनदर सेशन फॉर दिस, ताकि आपके जो डाउट्स हैं वो क्लियर कर सकूँ मैं. Before I go, I would love to tell you about whatever is happening on Unacademy, whatever new is happening on Unacademy. So बहुत सारी चीज़ें हो रही हैं. We have launched what is called an iconic subscription. This is actually a very good thing because आपकी पढ़ाई, definitely you're completing your chapters on Unacademy, but sometimes you do need a personal mentor to solve your doubt on a one-on-one basis. So with iconic subscription, you will be provided with a personal mentor. You will have live doubt solving sessions. Weekly reports would be given by the mentor to know where you're heading. The mentor would be connected to your parents so as to understand, to give your parents a glimpse into where you're going. So this, apart from this, you have all the benefits of Plus. So I think this is really interesting. अगर आप इसको लोगे तो आपके लिए बहुत अच्छा रहेगा, especially this point of time where sometimes आप एग्जाम्स के प्रिपरेशन में आपको डाउट्स होते हैं and you need someone immediately to clear your doubts. We also have some batches. So we have individual batches for science, commerce, and humanities. I will be teaching you humanities in the humanities platform. I'll be teaching you history for class 12th. The timings are from Monday to Friday at 4:45 p.m. We also have another batch called Optionals Made Easy. We have some optional papers like psychology, computer science, physical education, and here I'll be teaching you psychology on this platform. And if you know anyone who's from science and commerce, you have to tell them about the crash course batch for science and commerce, where your entire syllabus would be completed in a very crash manner. Jaldi hoga, but bahut detail mein hoga. Apart from this, we also have a batch of Revisathon, in which 10th, 11th, and 12th syllabus for maths and science would be revised here. So just take a look at it. Use my code Nicky Live. Take your subscriptions now, guys. It is the time. Because सब्सक्रिप्शन प्राइसेस विल बी इंक्रीजिंग सून, तो अभी ले लो, लंबे टाइम के लिए ले लो, ताकि आपको आगे जाके कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं हो. यू विल बी सॉर्टेड फॉर एन एंटायर ईयर. So thank you so very much. Thank you so much for joining the session. I really hope you all understood. If there's any doubt, you can always tell me in the comment section. Do take your subscription because जो मैं आपको यहाँ पढ़ा रही हूँ, पढ़ाई एग्जैक्टली बिल्कुल वैसी ही होती है जो प्लस में होगी, बट प्लस बैचेस आर मच 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 मोर फन. इट्स डिटेल्ड, इट्स मच मोर कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव. यूज माई कोड हियर Nicky Live as it is given without any gap and all in caps lock. Use this code and get your subscriptions today. Thank you so much for joining in. I'll see you all. Thank you.